righty, you guys. Well, welcome back, our lit family, our comunidad. I'm so excited that you're all here. And you guys, we get to talk a little bit deeper today with what Lupe is all about, which I'm sure you guys are all curious because we heard everything about Tati so far about the nervous system and why she got into it and why it's so important for us to be focusing on our nervous system when it comes to healing. But now we're going to talk all health. It's going to be amazing. Lupe has so much wisdom to drop. Let's just go ahead and get started, you guys. So, Lupe, I'm like really excited because obviously, like, this health journey must have been a wild one. But how did that even get started for you? Like, why health specifically? And why are you so passionate about helping other women focus on their health journeys?
That's such a good question. I love telling my story. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Yes, we're so excited to have you. Finally, I'm just kidding.
No, but I love this that we created transformation because that's what happened to me and that's what continues to happen to me. A few years back, like 6 years ago, I finally paid attention to my hormonal imbalance, my irregular periods, and I was like, I'm gonna go to the doctor. I wanted to start dating again, and I'm like, does this gonna affect me ever having a family? Like I started thinking more adult like, right? It's
Mm,
like enough playing around, face the facts. So I did, and I was diagnosed with PCOS. So that stands for polycystic ovarian syndrome. And the way that shows up for a lot of women is in many different ways, whether that's irregular periods, acne on the face, weight gain that's stubborn that you can't lose. And it's just a hormonal imbalance that you find in your body in different forms, whether that's mood swings. It's still a topic that's being developed and researched. There's not much out there. So at that time, the cure or the fix for it is always birth control. That'll help rebalance your hormones. And I'm like, no, I don't know what it is. Growing up, I always disliked any type of drugs, whether that was even Tylenol, like anything. I didn't like putting stuff that didn't belong in my body into it. I always sought out some remedy or like in our culture, un tecito, un té de manzanilla, like something
yeah.
more like herbal, right? So grew up with that concept. So I was like, no, thank you. If there's another alternative, what would that be? And thank goodness at that time I did have a good doctor, good GYN doctor. And she did say, well, let's change your diet. Let's change the way you work out. Let's
Mm,
change your healthy habits. And I was like, okay, let's do that. So at that time, it was in conjunction with my physical doctor, and she also said and told me, try keto diet. And for those that don't
mm,
know, keto diet is just a diet that focuses more on eating protein and you actually just eliminate all carbs. And I always told myself, like, oh, if I ever eliminated carbs, I'd be some skinny little girl, right? So I was like, wow, maybe now it's opportunity. So I did. I will be frank, when I came out of that appointment, I was determined to change my lifestyle. But I was also like, I felt defeated. And at the time, my brother's best friend, he actually still is a personal trainer, but my brother saw how I felt and how I looked. And he's like, that's it. I'm gonna set you up with Chris. You're gonna work out with him and you're gonna do your dieting and you're gonna work with him and you got this. And I was like, okay, fine. So I started working with Chris. I started weight training, and that was another thing. I was a big I was pretty much fit, but I was focusing more on running and doing a lot of
mm,
cardio, but never
yeah.
weight training. I was like going to the gym and I'm like, those weights, like, I don't know what to do with them. What if I hurt myself? Like, it was scary. It also, like, you go to the gym and it's very men dominant. So I'm like,
Mhm.
I don't want to be around that. So luckily I got hooked up with a man. So he like taught me his ways. And when I trained with him, like, I think it, because I knew he was the expert and because he was a male, that gave me the power to want to go to the gym on my own because I felt like a man taught me, so I must be doing something right. So like none of these
Yeah.
men can mess with me at the gym because I know what I'm doing. So it kind of gave me that power. So
Mhm.
that was like a month in, took out all the carbs. My parents thought I was crazy. They're like, "What are you gonna eat?" And I did it. And then honestly, in a month, I got my period and I was like, "Oh, that's weird. Maybe it was the month that I was supposed to get it." Month 2 came and I got it again. Month 3 came, I got it and I didn't even know I got it because I had 0 pain. No
Wow.
flare-ups, no signs that I was getting it, nothing. And I was like, "What? this is possible. And the doctor had given me a challenge. She said, in 3 months, I'll see you again. And if you haven't improved or anything hasn't happened, I'm going to put you on the birth control. So it was kind of like an ultimatum for me, too. And I was like,
Mhm.
oh, no, no, we're not doing that. I'm going to fix it on my own. And so by the time I went back, she was so impressed. She was like, she, I remember she had me do blood work again and she came back to the lab and she was like standing at the door, just staring at me like, and I was like, yeah, did I forget something? And she's like, I'm so impressed. She's like, I
Mm,
wish more women did this. And she's like, you changed this on your own. Like, it's possible. And it's almost like she was even also surprised that my body
mm.
could rebalance on its own. And I was like, thanks. But and so I continued.
Yeah.
I realized the difference that eating properly looked. I realized that a simple change of routine can help. And I was like, wait, periods without pain and then any flare ups? This is amazing. Like, why aren't we doing this? So eventually, fast forward, I managed for a few years. And then I was like, going through a spiritual like awakening and just feeling
Mm,
like what's my purpose in life, and at the time working in corporate I just felt like I didn't want to do this anymore, but I was like, how do I help people? What's my calling? And through some spiritual guidance, I fell in becoming a coach. And I was like, what kind of coach? And then I thought, this, my story, if so many more women understood that they have the power and capability of healing their own bodies, how amazing and life changing could that be for them? The same way it was for me.
mm.
And so I decided to become a coach and work on this ever evolving life of hormones and cycles and self love and just health. Because I quickly learned that health isn't just what you eat and how you work out, but it's who you surround yourself with. What's
Mhm.
your spirituality like, whether it's a religion or just meditation or whatever it is? Are you financially stable or is that stressing you out? Is your job stressing you out? Are
Yeah.
you, I've had a couple of clients now and the story is always the same. I don't have time to eat because I have to worry about my job. No. And so it's just a lot. And that's what honestly the school I went to, that's what they've taught us, that health isn't just what's on your plate, but it's actually what's on your plate is is what they call our second plate. Your first plate is what's around you, what you're feeding your soul, what you're feeding yourself with socially, educationally. That's my story. Sorry if that was long.
No, no, never
No,
apologize. Our stories are so
that was
important
so
because, like,
good.
our stories are the background and the catalyst to why we are in the spaces that we're in. And something there triggered, right, for you to be like, all right, it's time to be in this pathway. And I think it is important because for a lot of us who are looking for our calling or looking into how to move with life differently, maybe
Mhm.
those are the pieces that sometimes we forget, right? Is like the past versions of ourselves and the stuff that we've gone through. And they don't always have to be bad. It could be a great thing, right? Where for example, like your story, like, yeah, you had to change up your health, but at the same time, you found different modalities on how to heal yourself and how empowering is that? So it's like a mixture of like the awakening, but also like you
Mhm.
saw your superpower. So I think it's really important for people to hear that side of the story because for a lot of us, I think a lot of us go through we hit rock bottom and then that's how we find our calling. But in your way, it's like intertwined with both, where it's like, yeah, this could have been really bad, but I chose not to make it bad. And I found my superpower by actually looking for alternative ways to heal my
Mhm.
body. And
Mhm.
it worked out for you. Where I kind of want to go next is like, why do you think women, especially like women of color, have a hard time with maybe finding ways on how to heal their bodies with alternative modalities, right? Like, how you did it. Why do you think people are either resistant or why do you think they block themselves from those opportunities?
I think resistant is because I don't know that it's resistance. I think it's we go back to the expectations of society
Mm,
and we go to a doctor expecting to find the right answer. And
yeah.
sometimes that answer isn't fitting for us, but because we know that they're the professional and they're the person we go to, that's the right answer. That's my only option.
Mm.
And because I'm a stubborn person by nature, thank goodness.
Yeah.
I questioned it. I said, "Why? Why can't it be something else? Why can't you give me something else? Why does it have to be this?" I love to find alternatives That's like my thing. So for me, it was always, okay, if this isn't the doctor for me, and don't get me wrong, the first doctor with that lady was amazing. But then after that, I had to switch to different doctors. And along the way, I've had to say no to them. Like, okay, you're just not going to be my doctor. Thank you for your time. And you have to gain that power back for yourself and understand that
Mm,
nobody can tell you how you feel because only you know how you feel. And
yes.
so I love your degree. Congratulations for going to school. But if you're not in alignment, you're just not in alignment. This doctor just isn't for me. And I want women to hear that they do have the power to say no even to a doctor. Find your alternative. Find, and I know sometimes the restriction maybe there goes with, oh, I'm sticking to whatever is under my medical insurance. Okay,
Mm.
fine. Go down that medical insurance list, go through those doctors and which one aligned with you. And I forgot what was the other question you asked.
No, that's kind of like all together, but no, I think you're answering that beautifully because you're right. I think that a lot of women or women of color, however, because I feel like this can be for anybody really, is you're right. Like a lot of us, we don't want to seek out different alternative options because one, we may not be aware of it. Second, for those of us who have insurance, we don't want to pay out of pocket because maybe finding alternative routes could be a little bit more on the pricey side. And then third, right, the expertise. It's like, well, these are our doctors. They're supposed to heal us, right? And not to say that they're not. Like there are great doctors out there who are genuinely there for you and want to take care of you, but for some of us we may not find those doctors right away. So then we conform and decide like, well, they have to be the experts. They know best for me. But I think something that you highlighted that is so important is that you mentioned how we have to give ourselves that power back by advocating and by actually letting them know like this doesn't align with me and knowing that it's okay to walk away in situations when it doesn't go in alignment. Because that can be scary, Lupe. So for me, I'm
Mhm.
like, that could be so scary for so many women. So like, how did you find that moment where you were like, I have to take my power back? There's like no other way for that. And like, I guess, yeah, like how were you able to, channel that energy?
I think when I was younger, I was so I've always had irregular periods. And growing up, honestly, doctors always told me, "Oh, as long as you get it, you're fine." And
Mm,
obviously now I'm like, that's not fine. So
yeah.
in my mind, I was like, you all been lying to me this whole time. And so that was one for me that I was like, wait, something's wrong.
Yeah.
And then secondly, I know a doctor when I was younger was trying to give me birth control. And I'm like, are you? And I did take it at that time. That was the one and only time. And in 1 month, I blew up. I gained weight. My mood swings were insane. And I was like,
Oh.
this isn't normal. And again, it's
Mhm.
it's almost like you're in the, it's like a, I don't know, like a relationship you're in and you're like, wait, you're treating me bad. Wait, this isn't right. Like, why do I feel this way? And so you can't help but be like, wait a minute, maybe it's you that's the problem. And I need to
Mm,
speak up and tell you what I need. And honestly, I'll be honest, now that I'm thinking about it, I stopped going to the doctors because of that, because I knew they were going to ask me that question. I knew they were
yeah.
going to push on me the birth control. And then finally, when I was like, okay, I'm going to take hold of my life and I'm going to advocate for myself, was
Yeah.
honestly after so many like trial and errors of like finding the wrong people or hearing the wrong things. And I was just like, I can't with this. And you know what? I'm just going to speak up now. So I was like, I'm going to find a good doctor. I found when I did my research, and luckily she was a good one and she was willing to
Yeah.
give me that opportunity. Did she give me the right exact steps? No. Did she tell me to do keto and I did it? Yes. Was that sustainable? No. But it was at least it was a beginning to a journey that I knew I was able to fix or adjust going along the way.
That makes a lot of sense. No,
Mm.
I think that's really powerful to know also because I mean, again, you just highlighted so many things that people can also maybe reflect on and see how their own health journey or relationship with doctors or medical staff has been like and where maybe they need to tweak it. Because I think
Mhm.
that is really important.
You know what I love about your story, Lupe? I think that you're living proof that you can heal your body holistically. And again, it goes back to to the lack of awareness. I don't think that there's enough awareness about holistic healing. And I think that,
Mhm.
with everything that we're talking about right now, of like, traditional medicine is you go to the doctor and they give you a pill, they give you birth control, or they say, oh, like you can't focus. All right, here's a pill. Oh, you have anxiety. Here's a pill. Or whatever it is. You have stomach issues, high blood pressure. Here's a pill, right? Instead of asking about what's causing these symptoms, what are your daily habits, right? And
Mhm.
I love that you are living proof that you don't have to just take the pill, whether it's birth control or any other medication, right? You can say, actually, no, I want to find some alternatives and I want to see if I can heal my body naturally, which is, I mean, I personally, and I mean, I'm biased, but I feel like this is why we connected so well because I also believe that you can heal your body naturally, and I'm, like, with you. I'm also the kind of girl that, like, I don't take Tylenol, I don't take over-the-counter medicine, like, I just refuse to because I do feel like with every symptom that you have in your body, right, like, I think there's an alternative. You can drink more water, you can get more nutrients in, you can move your body, and I feel like not enough women know this, and I think going back to, like, the empowerment piece, think like sharing your story is a way to just remind women out there that you can say no and you do know your body best and sometimes the pill isn't the right answer and you can just
Mhm.
figure out what works better for your body. So, with all that being said, my question is, if there's a woman listening to this and she is just feeling so overwhelmed by either her hormonal imbalance or just like physical symptoms, her health in general, like what is the first step? Instead of, I don't know if the first step is going to the doctor. I don't know. You can share your thoughts on that. But like, what is the first step if someone is just feeling overwhelmed with all of this information?
That's a loaded question because there's so many. And I think I said this in your group the other day, but it honestly varies person by person. And I think it goes back to capacity. What's your capacity? So first off, what's the problem and what's your capacity? Because if let's say your problem is hormonal imbalance like me, but you have the capacity to like take on all these things, change your diet like I did at that time. Change your diet, change your workout, start there, see what happens. If your capacity is limited, you are completely overwhelmed, which has happened because I'm not perfect and I've fallen off. I've had to get back onto like my training wheel again. And at that time, life is different. So I am overwhelmed. So what I do is drink water and check my sleep because water will keep you hydrated. It will keep you away from
Mhm.
like sugars, eating snacks that you're not supposed to be eating, and sleep. Sleep is so important. And I feel like it just
Yeah.
goes past a lot of people where it's like, oh, I can run on 6 hours. Love that. Love that
Mhm.
for you, but technically, that is not healthy.
Yeah,
At least
no.
7 to 9 hours of sleep, and the kicker on top of all that is actually that your sleeping schedule is similar every night. Because you could sleep 8 hours every night, but if you're going to sleep one night at midnight, the next day you're going to sleep at 9, and the next day you're going to sleep at 10. Think of your, like, body, especially women, it's like an algorithm, right? And if you're
Mhm.
messing with that algorithm, that's literally what's going to happen to you.
Yeah.
Up and down is what's gonna happen, and that's gonna show up in either eating habits or, mood swings or energy levels. It's gonna show up in so many ways. So you can't
Yeah.
get started on anything if you don't have the proper sleep. Because now you're gonna wake up groggy, or now you're running late to work, and now you're just gonna grab, like, no breakfast, and now you're done for the day
Up.
because you've already started off your day wrong. So I think that water and sleep are, like, my 2 goes. If you can work on that and get that done first, then add on. And I'm a big person on habit stacking. So if you're a person that's overwhelmed, start small. Start with these things and then add on the next thing, whether that's you want to work on workouts because you're not ready to tackle on food. You do
Yeah.
workouts, or you're ready to tackle on food because you don't know where to start with your workouts. Cool. Start with food. Make sure you're having those 3 meals a day. Make sure at least in each of those meals you're having some type of vegetable. some protein, and some carb. Yes, I do eat carbs now.
Carbs
Is
are
long
good.
gone, but you eat those healthy carbs. And then if you're working out, you start small. You do not go to the gym and start lifting 50 pounds. You start small.
Yes.
You start stretching. You start lifting 5 pounds. You get that trainer that's going to teach you how to properly do things. You're going to
Mm,
get into a studio and you're going to start with yoga. Start moving your body because you haven't moved it in years. Small steps go a long, long way. Because I think another thing that we like to do as Latina women too is it's a all or nothing mentality.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
that's just not sustainable. Not
No.
sustainable at all. And so baby steps. And I've had to learn that myself because at that time it was all or nothing. At that moment, it was an ultimatum and it was like either get it done or you're gonna have to do birth control. So I was like, absolutely not. So it's all in. But again, I say at that time I had the capacity to do all in. Ask me now, I do not have that capacity. But that's where the baby steps come in. That's where
Yeah.
the little habit stacking comes in.
That's really good. I'm glad that you brought that up because I think you're right. A lot of us high achievers, Latina women, we tend to think that way, right? And I'm sure that yes, we want to do it all, but like you said, the key thing is just the baby steps, right?
mhm,
Like starting off small and just integrating things. I think about your analogy about the juggler. That's the one
Mm,
that came up right now.
mhm,
And we have to remember that we're all jugglers, adding one pin at a time, right? We can't just do all of it at once because then it's gonna collapse.
mhm,
And that's where the whole if we want to affirm the whole mentality of like, oh my gosh, all or nothing, that's exactly what's gonna happen. But
mhm.
if you just focus on baby steps, like Lupa said, you're gonna get there.
The phrase that comes up to me is, o lo haces bien o no lo hagas.
Yeah, that too. Oh my
And it's
mhm.
gosh.
like, honestly, there's been days where I, like, do my workout and I'm like, this ain't it." And I start 15 minutes in and then I'm like, I'm done." And then I leave it
Yeah.
because, like, I tried, but then I realized I'm not there for the day or that morning, so it's okay to step away. But it's taken some rework of my capacity and understanding that it's okay. It's
Yeah.
okay.
I'm curious to know your thoughts about working out or like cycle syncing in terms of working out specifically. So, like workouts specific to what phase you're in your cycle.
I think it's true. I think we should be syncing to a specific workout. I don't know. I don't think so. I think that goes back to the type of person you are, your body, how you works, what doesn't for you. And the reason I say that is because I feel like I've experienced where I tried to do weight training like hardcore throughout the month. And then on the weeks that I was on my menstrual cycle, I still did it and I was exhausted. And
Mm,
that adds stress. And so your cortisol levels go up. And so
yeah.
now you're not balanced. And although the workout is supposed to be helpful to you at that moment and that week, you're adding stress to your body when your body should
Mm,
be at rest because it's
Mhm.
literally shedding blood out of you.
it's
So
Mhm.
true. I can see
your
that.
body is already working and now you're adding on top of it more work by weight training. Some people can handle it and some people actually still do weight training, but they just decrease their weight. So
Mhm.
if they're used to lifting 50, they just lift 20 that day, right? So
Yeah.
it's an adjustment. Me, I personally at this point, I just can't, like, I don't function on the week of my menstrual cycle. So I just stretch or I do light Pilates. Because actually abdominal workouts during my menstrual cycle help. Um,
Yeah.
but I do think that there is something to be said about syncing your workouts with where you're at in your cycle because there's different strengths, there's different moods, there's different energy levels throughout each phase. And it's important to acknowledge that because at the end of the day, we go back to the same thing. It's an all or nothing mentality. And we do not function that way. Our body,
Yeah.
you can force it to be that way, but literally our body does not work that way. There are
Mhm.
literal chemical levels that drop. So if they drop, what do you think is gonna happen to you?
No,
You're
that makes
gonna
sense.
you're gonna like shut down a little. And that's okay.
Yeah.
That's literally what is happening in your body. So why would you force it to stay up here when literally your chemicals are dropping?
That makes so much sense, like, I think about, like, our cycles as, like, seasons,
Mhm.
right? And,
Mhm.
like, when you're on your period, that's, like, winter, and naturally, we should be resting and slowing down in winter anyway, right? Like, when it's
Yeah.
actually winter outside,
Mhm.
and when we're on our period, that's a time to just slow down and rest, and then what comes after winter? Spring, and then spring
Spring.
comes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Spring
Spring.
comes, and then you can, like that's when, like, you get your energies back, and then summer,
Yeah.
and you're like, "Yeah,
Woo.
Yep.
ovulating, I feel my best."
Yes. And I just finished my menstrual cycle this week. And I went right into my follicular phase, which is like your most energy, or you're starting to amp up. I think of it like a roller coaster, right? Like, when you're at the bottom, that's your menstrual cycle, and then you're like, when the roller coaster is like,
Yes, and
oh
you're
my
you're
God,
ready,
oh
you
my
have your
God.
hands
Yeah,
up,
you're
you're
getting
going.
ready. You're getting ready for that fall. And at the top, top,
Yes.
top is like your ovulation, and you're like, "Oh my God, I'm at the top of the world. Look at this
Yeah.
view from up here." And then you freaking drop and you're like scared. You're just scared. And you're
Like,
just like, "Oh my God, let me sit back down."
Do
So I
you
think
also
that's
think
it.
do you also think that it depends on, like, how and I wanna hear your thoughts, but I feel like I know the answer.
Mhm.
Like, how you nourish your body that month? Because I know that, like, sometimes for me, like, there are months where I'm on my period and I cannot work out versus, like, there are other months where I'm on my period and I feel great and I still do, like, my usual workouts, and I wonder if the difference is just, like, how I nourished my body that month or the month before. I don't know how that works, if it's, like, the month before or that month of your period.
I think it's again different from woman to woman, but for the most part, you can affect your menstrual cycle as soon as the week prior. So like
Mhm.
if
oh,
you're
okay.
eating junk food the week prior, oh, you best believe you're gonna get those cramps the next week.
I'm like, I crave for sweets.
Okay, so
That's how I know.
if that
Yeah.
happens, then you need to work backwards. And think of it as like
Mm.
a domino, like when you line up those dominoes and you hit one and
Yeah.
it hits the other. So if that's what's happening that week, then you need to reanalyze the week before. What am I doing the week before? The more you nourish your body
Mm.
throughout the first 2 weeks of your cycle, so like your follicular and your ovulation
Yeah.
week, the more you nourish it there, like give it all the love,
Yeah.
better prepared is gonna be for your luteal phase, which is now preparing you for your menstrual phase. So in
Gotcha.
your case that the if like that happens, I would analyze like what's happening in your life too. Like, are you
Mm.
exhausted because you have a lot of work that month? Maybe it's simple as
Mm.
I'm tired because life is lifing.
Mhm.
Maybe it's simple as, you know what, I actually didn't drink enough water, or I don't know, like other
Like,
stuff.
getting the nutrients in, yeah.
Right,
I feel
right.
like that's, like, my biggest problem, like, I feel like I'm try to be more mindful of, like,
Mhm.
making sure I get my nutrients in,
Mhm.
but, like, I do notice it when I get a really bad period, I know I'm like, "God damn it, like, I didn't get all my nutrients in," like, I like, I try so hard to, like, make sure that I'm supporting my body because I hate cramps, I, like, don't wanna feel like I'm in pain, but
Mhm.
and that's how I know if I'm, like, nourishing my body in the way that I'm supposed to. If, like, I have a good period, I'm like, "Oh, good, like, I need to
Yeah.
keep doing what I did that month," or whatever. But I have another question.
I have another comment to that.
Okay.
It also depends on how it flares up for people. Like, is it you're getting bad cramps? Is it your mood swings are flaring up? Is it you're craving junk food now? Is it like all those line up to something is off? And it's a direct answer to what you need to fix. So yes, analyzing like, damn, I didn't like nourish myself. So for example, this weekend I had really bad cramps, as you ladies knew. I hadn't had it so bad, and I reanalyzed, and the week prior I was having bad digestion. And
Mm.
so now and it's funny because I said to myself, I need to do a digestive detox because I feel like my digestion is off, something's off, my intestines need to be cleaned out, I don't know what it is. And I said that to myself and I said it out loud, and I was like, maybe I'll start it in a few weeks. And then boom, I got my period and it was the worst cramping ever, ever. Like I was in tears. And so that was the direct answer I needed. I'm like, this is what's off. And so it's also learning one, how your body functions, and listening literally to your gut and trying to figure out what's off that I feel off, and then correlating that to like how does your period show up. because then that'll
Mhm.
tell you like, oh, that's what I need to work on. So yes, now I'm gonna work on a detox because I know my digestive something needs cleaning there. And honestly, that's another thing. Our digestive system is what absorbs all of our nutrients. So you can eat as healthy as you want, but if your digestion system is not as healthy, it's not going to absorb all those nutrients. So also keeping all those little things in mind as well.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Mhm,
So I have a question about, and maybe I don't know if this might be like a longer answer, and maybe we don't have time for it. I don't know. But so can you talk a little bit about high estrogen and high progesterone?
mhm, mhm,
Because I also sometimes occasionally get cramping when I'm ovulating. And I feel like there are months where, and I know that that's connected to like your hormones. I don't know if it's like high estrogen that
mhm.
causes the cramping. But could you like talk a little bit? I don't, maybe this is like out of your scope too, so I don't know, like I don't
It
know.
is and it isn't. We could definitely make a huge episode about this.
I know, I'm like so intrigued. I love talking about this stuff. I'm so intrigued.
No, it's good, it's good. So estrogen is what we always want to have to be rebalance our progesterone, right? So at any point, if any of that, I always think of it as a seesaw. If any of that is not balanced, something's gonna flare up in you. So whether that's the cramping, whether that's the mood swings, whether that's the acne, whether that's the weight gain, the stubborn gain weight. And honestly, in that case, I would actually recommend you get tested. Like check your hormones, get a hormone panel. By the way, you can request this from your GYN or any doctor.
Mm,
If they say no, that's not the doctor for you. Um, and so you want to know where your levels are at because you can have high progesterone, but your estrogen is fine. You can have low progesterone, but your estrogen is like high, and so now like it's not balancing. So it's like a dancing game. Like if
mhm,
you can't dance, like if one partner doesn't have the right step, your dance isn't gonna come out right. And so during ovulation though, there's other chemicals, and I don't know these off the top of my head. There's also another chemical that we have that you need in order to not feel the cramps. And so I'm wondering if also that
mm,
chemical is low or you need to
interesting.
nourish it more. I can't remember the chemical, but something to nourish it is going to be omega 3s, so like
Mhm,
salmon, anything fish,
mhm.
or if you don't
Okay,
like fish,
I
drink
love
your omega 3 vitamins. They sell omega 3 vitamins.
Like,
Yeah.
I love salmon.
I
Yes.
love
Give
salmon
it to
too.
me.
Yes.
Me too. I love
Yeah.
seafood. And
I feel
then
like my estrogen levels are high because I've also, I don't know if this is TMI, but like
Nah,
I've
this
also
there's
gotten
never too much
like
TMI. Let me take out
TMI,
my
bitch.
cafecito. Tell us all the chisme.
I'm like trying to get all the free coaching right now from
Yeah,
Lupe.
Yeah.
always.
Yes.
But you know, like those little pink spots that you get, I Googled it and that I it said it was like high estrogen because you have high estrogen. So I've started getting those and I wonder if that, I mean, I've never gotten a test, but maybe I should. But I feel like it's like on the side of my breast, so I feel like it is probably high estrogen levels.
Okay. I'm not too familiar with that, but if you keep feeling like you do have high estrogen levels, again, this goes back to nobody knows your body more than you. And if that's what you're
Mhm.
feeling, you probably do. And so it's not so much that you're overproducing, is that you have nothing else to help it balance. So it could be that you don't have enough progesterone. It could be that you actually do have the right amount of estrogen. It's just not enough progesterone, like the seesaw. You don't have enough progesterone to balance it out. So now this is flaring up.
Interesting. Okay,
Mhm.
so the fish, like fish and like omega-3 is what would balance that out.
Mhm,
Okay.
mhm. Try that.
Okay, I'm gonna try that. Thank you. Wow, I
But
love
definitely I
this.
would get tested to see,
I'm
like,
gonna,
just make
yeah,
sure
I
everything
should
is in
probably get
order.
tested. Yeah,
Mhm.
I don't think I have an appointment coming up. Maybe at the end of the year. I think, yeah.
No, oh my gosh, Lupe. I feel like this is so good. And I love that we got some free coaching out of it. So
Yeah.
thank you, Tati, for asking all your questions. Never too much info, right? Like this is a place where we're all learning and we're all just allowing ourselves to be vulnerable, because guess what? Like, that is what a lot of us are going through. And sometimes it is really hard to speak about it with a group of people. But you got us, ladies. Like, we will help you. And most importantly, Lupe will help you.
Mhm.
Yes, yes, yes.
So I know that we are coming around time. Lupe, can you just let us know, like, so if people want to work with you, if there is a woman out there that's like, dude, I need help with my health, like I feel the same things, or like I'm tired, I don't know how to like use my voice and empower myself when I'm going into these doctor appointments or finding different alternatives. Can you run us down a little bit of what you do in your coaching and like what you focus on, and then how people can work with you?
So if you definitely just want to chat and see how I can help or just get some quick advice, we can definitely link this in the show notes and you can book a session with me. It's totally free, the first one. And we can just talk it out, figure out what you need, because I'm all for that. Like, let's figure out what you need. And then we'll take it from there. I'm also going to provide in the show notes my new freebie that I've created. So if you're going
What?
through woo, hormonal imbalances, these are 5 little steps that you can start working on. Again, we're going back to the capacity part. If you're overwhelmed, these are just simple things that you can start paying attention to, or you start off with one month, one you add on a second month. So these are like 5 key important things that are helpful. And then lastly, my coaching. Yes, I do one-on-one and I walk you through my flow framework. Ha ha, flow. Flow because yes, we flow as women, but also because I'm a strong believer that things just have to flow at your own pace.
Yeah.
And so we obviously start with what's holding you back? Why? What's that resistance like you were asking 80s? Is your capacity there to be able to add on all these other healthy habits that we're about to start? And then once we get that all set, we walk through leveraging your cycle. How do we use all the different phases? What phase are you in right now? Because if you're in your menstrual cycle, I'm not going to tell you to go work out. I'm not. So we
Yeah.
figure that out. We figure out what each phase means, what's your again capacity, because like Tati said, sometimes you
Mhm.
have months where you're on your menstrual cycle, but you don't have the energy, and some months you do. And then we optimize your nutrition. What's missing? I am a strong believer that we do not take away, we add. What is missing on your plate? What are we going to add? More than it's going to be a vegetable, because that's what it was for me. So how do we add on that vegetable? Is it because you genuinely don't know how to cook it, or you don't know how to shop for it? We figure that out.
Ooh.
And then lastly, we work it. How do we make workouts fun? What do you like? Because again, this all or nothing mentality needs to stop. And how do we leverage what you love to do? And if that's cycling, you freaking go cycle. If you want to learn how to weight train, we start somewhere there. Yeah, I walk you through all those phases through the flow framework, and we get you started and make it a sustainable thing so that it's not a job but a lifestyle that you want to live.
Ooh, that was such a
That was
good way to
so
close
good.
it up.
I
I was
know,
like,
that was
wait,
so
hold
good.
up. What? That was so good. So, ladies, you already know, if you are ready to get started on your health journey, please reach out to Lupe. She's such an amazing coach. And Tati can testify because she had her as a guest speaker in her coaching program. And so Lupe is just amazing, y'all. So
Thank
please, if
you.
you are trying to get to bettering your health for your own purpose, like that's going to help you so much moving forward. So we'll add those on the show notes and everything. And y'all, just thank you all for being here. We appreciate you all. Thank you for getting to know a little bit more about Lupe and her story. And I hope this connects with you all. And remember, she's also on Instagram, so follow her there. We'll add that all there as well. Just remember, ladies, like you have the power to change your health at any moment. And I hope that this empowered you. This gave you the wisdom that you needed, so that way you can observe, see what needs to, be tweaked in your life when it comes to health, and reach out to Lupe or reach out to us. You know where to find us, ladies. But in the meantime, stay lit, and we'll catch you all next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for joining us today on Lit Podcast. We hope this conversation has ignited a spark within you so that you keep embracing your journey.
Remember, transformation takes time, but every step brings you closer to the life you're meant to live. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, share, and leave a review.
Let's continue this journey together. Until next time, stay lit and keep transforming.